On Friday, I spoke to Robert Saleh, the coach of the Jets, and I asked him, how do you think you're going to feel coming out of the tunnel Monday night for the opener of this season? 9/11 in New York. Saleh, as most people know, has a big history with 9/11. His brother was very nearly killed in 9/11, but survived, and it changed the course of Robert Saleh's life. I wrote about it in Football Morning in America this week. But I asked him how he felt how do you think you'll feel coming out of the tunnel? I don't want to give you his answer. He said, good question. Before games, I get chills that run through my spine. I tell my wife, we're so lucky. I get to experience almost every human emotion you can experience in a 4-hour period, the ultimate highs and lows. Really, what a gift to be able to do this for a living. It's going to be special, very special. And I kept thinking of that when I saw Aaron Rodgers sitting on the field on Monday night after he apparently, and we'll get the confirmation later in the day, you'll probably have it by the time you listen to this podcast, but the wide speculation is that Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles and will be almost certainly lost for the year. So I kept thinking about Robert Saleh talking about the range of emotions, okay? And the range of emotions are so wide in any football game. But now just imagine you're Robert Saleh, your entire offseason has been all about Aaron Rodgers coming onto the team and totally changing everything about this franchise, obviously including expectations. So, Myles, there will be a lot of time to talk about what should the Jets do now, but tell me, A, your reaction, and B, oh, by the way, the Jets won the game.
Yeah. I mean,
so much of it is unbelievable, but what were you thinking?
Well, I thought about that quote from Tom Moore, a longtime, obviously offensive coordinator, now offensive assistant. And when he would say about Peyton Manning, in backups, like, we don't practice bleeped, right? And, if 18 goes down, we're bleeped and we don't practice bleep. And like, that's kind of what happened last night. If 8 goes down, 8 being Aaron Rodgers' number now, we're bleeped and we don't really practice that. And the thing is, Zach Wilson obviously has starting experience, and, his Jets teammates talked him up last night. And I think somebody, and I can't remember exactly who I saw the quote from, was like, oh man, he's a starter on other teams than any other team. And I'm thinking, like, a starter in what league? Like, man, like he's a starter.
I saw that last night. That's insane.
Come on. And I know it's his teammate. Yeah. But like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on that.
A lot.
Yeah. Because look, Aaron Rodgers is a special player. He's a special guy. There's a reason why they went out and they traded for him. If Zach Wilson were going to be somebody that anyone thought could be a good starting quarterback this year, then Aaron Rodgers would not be with the New York Jets. So that's one thing that I thought. That was my first reaction. And the other was, okay, well, I guess the Bills are going to run away with this. And neither of those things really happened. I mean, Garrett Wilson saved Zach Wilson on that touchdown. And what an outstanding play that was by number 17 for the New York Jets. But then, you just continue to see the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen really keep them in that ball game. And when the Jets had opportunities, they took advantage of them. And that, to me, says a lot about the Jets as a team and why they really are a contending team if they have a good quarterback. So obviously we don't know what it is that they're going to do. Robert Saleh said that Zach Wilson's going to be the guy. We'll see. I don't know. But just from that standpoint, you go through all those emotions, and in that emotional roller coaster of losing Aaron Rodgers, and then, oh my gosh, what are we going to do, to winning that ball game the way that they did. Man, you got to give Robert Saleh a lot of credit for getting that Jets team prepared the way that it was, because most teams are not going to be able to win that game after you lose your starting quarterback in that manner.
You know, a few things about the game, Miles, that are just sort of, when I consider what happened in this game, I just find it startling that Josh Allen blew this game. It's startling to me. So let's just go behind for a second and just think about this. All right. So we're at halftime and the Buffalo Bills are ahead 13-3. And you're playing Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second half of this game and in overtime, Josh Allen had the ball 6 times. Now, let's keep in mind the New York Jets are a top 3, maybe a top 1 NFL defense. That is a terrific defense. But in the second half of this game and in overtime, here were the 6 possessions that Josh Allen led. They ended interception, punt, interception, fumble, field goal, punt. So needing basically 6 points to win this game in the third quarter in overtime, fourth quarter in overtime, Josh Allen struggled to 3 points. Okay, that's the first thing that bothers me. I think the second thing that bothers me, Miles, I may be one of the only people who noticed this, who saw this, but you tell me if you saw it. In the second quarter of this game, Josh Allen took off on a run, all right? And instead of darting out of bounds, he got and chose to try to get a yard or 2 more and got crunched by 3 New York Jets tacklers. And they panned to the sidelines. And Sean McDermott is going like this. Mm-hmm. And Sean McDermott is saying to Josh Allen, okay, many people who are just listening and not watching, I pointed to my head 3 or 4 times. In other words, that's Sean McDermott saying to Josh Allen, use your head.
Yes.
Don't go out half-cocked trying to get an extra 2 yards. Stop it. We talked about this all through the offseason. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And again, that is me reading into what Sean McDermott was doing with his body language. But I think that's probably pretty close to the reality of it. So those 2 things, the mistakes by Josh Allen and his judgment, I mean, it's one thing to lose a game. That, in so many ways for the Buffalo Bills, was a really disturbing loss.
Absolutely, Peter. And I got one number for you, and it's 84. That's the number of giveaways that Josh Allen has had since the start of the 2018 season, and it is more than any other quarterback after week 1. Any other quarterback. Jared Goff is second on that list. And, I saw some Cowboys writers saying, well, Dak Prescott, you'd think he'd be up there with the way we talk about Dak Prescott's turnovers. He's not even in the top 5. Josh Allen has had these issues dating back to whatever season you want to go to, right? The best he looked was when Brian Daboll, and he really got going and really got things together. And then Brian Daboll up and leaves to become the head coach of the New York Giants. Now, that's great for Brian Daboll, but what you have to do if you're Josh Allen is not turn the ball over like this. He kept doing it late in last season, and I was talking about it, and every time I would, the Buffalo Bills fans would get on me. It was tweets, it was this, it was that. Well, Patrick Mahomes turns the ball over. He has interceptions. So does Joe Burrow. It's not just the interceptions, it's the fumbles, and it's the decision-making. And when you have a chance as the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, right? Garrett Wilson makes an incredible catch, but they've still got Zach Wilson at quarterback, okay? They may have tied the game, but all you need to do is go down the field and get a touchdown, and you probably put that game away, right? And the first thing that they do is Josh Allen drops the snap, then picks it up, tries to run, and fumbles it again. and they get the possession and they score a field goal and they take the lead. This is the kind of thing that you need to be extremely concerned about if you are the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen, he said in the post-game press conference, it's the same stuff and it's eerily similar to last year. And I let the team down, and he owned it. And I give him credit for that. But at this point, this is who Josh Allen is. And until we see something different, and until Josh Allen proves otherwise, then he's going to continue to cost his team games in manners like this. And that's why, to me, the Buffalo Bills are not at that upper echelon of AFC teams right now, because they continue to show that they will turn the ball over in critical situations. It's just not good enough right now. And Josh Allen knows it. So, I mean, look out, Raiders, because this team's going to be coming after you in the first half of next week. And yeah, I think that they'll bounce back. And maybe this will be the wake-up call that they needed. But I don't know how you can't be extremely concerned if you're a Buffalo Bills fan today.
All right, so Myles, I want to transition into, look, let me stop myself and just basically say, if we were WFAN in New York right now, we would have a 45-minute cry fest about Aaron Rodgers, and we could talk about, oh my God, what an awful thing, what a quasi sporting tragedy. There's only two other things I want to say, because everybody knows that's just one of the weirdest, awful, terrible things. On the fourth snap of saviordom, Aaron Rodgers goes down, exactly 24 hours after the New York Giants showed everybody who we thought they were. And I'm exaggerating a little bit. I didn't know what the Giants would be this year, but reality is set in at MetLife Stadium. Another same old football season with the Giants and Jets, unfortunately. But I do want to just have two last points to make about Rodgers and about the Jets. Right. So Aaron Rodgers turns 40 years old in December. When you turn the clock back a quarter century, you turn the clock back to Dan Marino, an aging great quarterback, tearing his Achilles late in his career, and he was never the same. And a lot of people, I think, have said and wondered in the hours, in the day or so after the injury to Aaron Rodgers, well, assuming it is an Achilles tear, what will he be like coming back at age 40? Because obviously, as you get older, it's harder to come back from debilitating injuries. And I don't think anybody truly knows what Rodgers will be like, other than I'll just say two things. Number one, I will be utterly shocked if Aaron Rodgers stops playing football, if he announces his retirement, or if whatever. He is in love with football right now, and coming into this season, and he's in love with being a quarterback in New York. He's in love with quarterbacking the New York Jets. So I don't see any way, barring some physical calamity, that he stops playing football. That's number one. I believe, Myles, that Aaron Rodgers feels a closer kinship to Tom Brady right now, entering this season. And again, look, who knows how he feels right now, because he's obviously devastated. I believe he feels a closer kinship to Tom Brady than he ever has as a competitor with him in his career, because, as he told me in training camp, Tom Brady and what he was able to do really has been enlightening for me. And what he meant is he sees why somebody can still be in love with the game this late in his career, and how he can physically still do it this late in his career. So that's one thing. The second thing is a totally 180 degrees different. If you look at the New York Jets schedule, you start to ask yourself, as a football fan, oh my God, the Jets are America's team this year. They're on national TV 1,000 times. And so what can the NFL flex out of? Okay. And so I went and, you look up because sometimes, the flexing rules are a little bit bizarre. Okay. But, and they're malleable. They changed coming into this year. Just to let you know, the NFL can flex games on Sunday Night Football between weeks 5 and 10. And then also the NFL can flex games from weeks 11 to 17. Okay, so in other words, from week 5 to 17, it's possible that games can be flexed. Monday Night Football can be flexed at the NFL's discretion between weeks 12 and 17. And Thursday Night Football, it could be used twice, up to twice between weeks 13 and 17. Now, I think most of us felt coming into this year, they're not going to flex Thursday night. It's a horrible thing for fans. It's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the Jets and their schedule could be flexed under the current rules twice. In week 10, the Jets are at Las Vegas on Sunday Night Football on NBC. That game easily could be flexed, especially if the Jets are struggling and, unless the Vegas Raiders really go on a run. So that's number one. Week 10, Sunday Night Football, Jets at Vegas. Also, Thursday night, week 17. So in other words, the last Thursday night game, basically, potentially, that could be flexed is the Jets at Cleveland. And, for that game right there, that is a really interesting candidate to be flexed, because you'd think that unless Deshaun Watson plays great, and he's got to play a lot better than he did on Sunday, and he might, that could be a real candidate for flexing. But those are the two games that America may be able to see an alternate game on any of those two, either of those two. And the final thing I would say about this is, I just feel a lot of times like I'm not a big believer in, the gods are at play in this game or anything like that, or the Jets are cursed, anything like that. It just shows, in my opinion anyway, that everything that happens in sports is unscripted. You just don't know. That's why we love sports.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that after Aaron Rodgers goes down with a crushing, debilitating, franchise rattling injury. I get it. It's horrible. But, and again, look, we could talk about the turf. My problem in talking about the turf, Miles, is we can all speculate that this wouldn't have happened if it was grass, but we don't know. We just don't know. And so I'll leave that for, people who are adamant that every field should be grass and this injury never would have happened on grass. The fact is, nobody knows whether the torque that happened when Leonard Floyd sacked Aaron Rodgers would have been any different on grass, and whether this injury would have happened on grass. You simply don't know. You can speculate, and it's a good argument saying that every field should be grass. That's fine. But you can't say that this injury wouldn't happen on grass. Anyway, I've gone on far too long. I'm going to give you the last word on Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets.
Well, I think it just shows that football can be a cruel game, man. I mean, it's wonderful. It's amazing. It's my favorite sport. I love it. I love all the games given me. And, I feel very fortunate to make a living talking about it. But man, when you see something like that and how terrible it is, and how it obviously affects the mentality of everybody up and down that Jets sideline, right? I mean, and not just on the sideline, but you go up a little higher to the coach's box, right? And then also to the owner's suite. That affects everybody. So when they are still able to win a game like that, I just love that that's what football is,
Yeah, it's great.
because you can still go from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs where an undrafted free agent makes the team and ends up winning the game on a punt return. Isn't that cool? In overtime in MetLife Stadium on Monday Night Football. That's beautiful. It's like it's melancholy and it's sad in one way, but the fact that that's how the game ends is just, it's poetic and it's beautiful also. I don't know.
It's funny, Xavier Gibson that you talked about, the guy who won the game with the punt return. What I think is the coolest thing about that, right after the Hard Knocks show aired, where the Jets cut their roster and Xavier Gibson made the team, I texted Robert Saleh and I said, first of all, I thought that Hard Knocks was really good this year, in part because the Jets kind of embraced it. They said they weren't, but then Aaron Rodgers thought, hey, they can see the truth about Aaron Rodgers. And so he got into it. And the coolest thing was the relationship between the two free agent receivers, and obviously Gibson's also a returner, who made this team, and two free agent undrafted wide receivers made a team that was going to contend strongly, I thought, for a division title. And I just told Saleh that it was great, and that, Bill Parcells always used to say, once you get in this room, meaning the start of training camp, once you get in this room, I don't care where you were drafted. I don't care how much money we paid you. I'm going to keep the best 53. And the Jets did that. And last night it rewarded them on one of the most star-crossed days in the history of the franchise. I'm sure the most star-crossed day in the history of the franchise. They won the game because of a decision they made with keeping a guy who entered training camp as probably the 87th guy on the roster. You're right. That is the beauty of what football is all about.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.